Welcome to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. If you ever asked, how do I protect myself and those I love if something unexpected happened to me? You're in the right place. I'm your host, Niki Weiss, and together we'll explore how to protect yourself in a world where both your physical and digital legacy leave a lasting impact. And welcome back to another episode of the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. And for today's episode, we're going to be diving into creating a legacy through music. And I want to introduce to you Brooke and Karen. Now, Brooke, you and I have known each other back in the early 2000s when we were working for Samaritan Hospice in New Jersey. And I was the complementary therapy supervisor, bringing on these non-pharmacological therapies to enhance the quality of life of our patients. And I was presented with an opportunity for you were you an intern at the time at Temple University in your music therapy, or were you actually graduating?
I was just graduating. I started Samaritan in April, and I had just finished officially my degree in January.
And then you and Karen know each other from your program at Temple.
Yes, we were in the master's program together at Temple. And actually, I think Karen's first experience with music therapy working in end of life was as a volunteer for Samaritan with patients. Yeah.
Karen, I think I remember you. It just popped in my head. I do remember. Oh my gosh, there we go. Full circle. So here we are over 18 years later. And music therapy. So for our audience who are not familiar with music therapy, what is some of the educational pathways that to get you there, both for your draw to end of life, but also for music therapy?
For me, I did my undergraduate degree was in performance. And then when I became aware of music therapy and thought that might be a field I'd be interested in, I added a psychology second double major. And then I entered music therapy master's program at Temple immediately following. But for Karen, you did your undergraduate degree in music therapy, right?
I did. And I actually started out with studying marine biology and also psychology courses. I had always done music. I was taking a lot of music courses in college. I played clarinet. And then one of my music professors told me about music therapy and said, have you ever heard of this? And I said, what is that? And I immediately fell in love with music therapy and changed my major, changed my school, went to Temple University for my undergrad. I did one of those 10-year undergrads. No, it was 5. And then worked as a music therapist professionally in mental health. And then I went back for my master's. And that's where I went, Brooke. A music therapy degree, we have so much fun in our careers. And to get there, it's a lot of work. You have to at least have a bachelor's degree in music therapy and take a board certification exam. So that includes courses in biology, psychology, physiology and anatomy, as well as music theory, music therapy applications, working with all different types of clients and what does music therapy look like. And then you have to have 3 different clinical practicum experiences where each semester you work with a different music therapist with a different population. And then you have your full-time residency for 6 months or 1,000 hours as an intern in music therapy.
There aren't a whole lot of clinical degrees where you're getting that level of clinical training as an undergraduate student.
When I met Brooke, it was the first time that I became aware of the word thanatology, and because it was very related to music and that there's actually a branch of music called thanatology. So can you share and educate us a little bit about there's death music and what does that incorporate?
So I think music thanatologists would be anyone from any background could come and do a training with music thanatology. Music therapists, because of the extensive training, are the ones that are usually hired, and because of the certification, are usually hired in hospice and hospital settings. Music thanatologists often they volunteer or they have opportunities to work bedside with people, and it's mostly the music itself is strictly the therapy. Within the music therapist relationship, it's also about the relationship, and it's very more project process based, I would guess.
But is there a certain tone or genre within thanatology music, or is it really the therapeutic process that people use in that stage of life?
I think there is probably some research and or theories about there being certain experiences of tone, different frequencies of sounds that are considered to be healing, or I don't know how scientific that research is. I would say for music therapy as a profession and discipline, it's more the research, the scientific part is an application of music in different settings that more speak to the experience of the individual. So we're using music from all genres, all backgrounds. Preferred music has shown to be the most helpful for people who, we're talking specifically about hospice and palliative care, and actually across populations. Karen, would you say where preferred music is usually the most important component?
And I think, I mean, I'm not an expert in music thanatology, but just from my limited understanding, I think music thanatologists work with people when they're actively dying and use music as a bridge to go from living to dying. That's my understanding. And what we do in music therapy is we work with someone in all stages of life. And so if they are in hospice, they're not actively dying most likely when we meet them. They might have 6 months or less to live. Sometimes, I mean, I've had patients on my in my caseload for a year or so, and you're really working with that relationship, that therapeutic rapport with the patient. And so I'm guessing if you're actively dying and working with a music thanatologist, you might not have as much communication about preference and so forth, and it's just kind of to help you move along. And in music therapy, because we're there at all stages of the process, there's different music for different emotions for different days of the week. It really depends on the patient and how they're feeling in that moment, and what they'd like to get out of the session, what their goals are.
And the patient population too, because there's pediatric hospice, so the music you'll use with a child versus a teenager, a young adult, each stage of life, and cultural preferences as well. So what does that conversation look like when you're working with your patients and trying to understand what their level of interest, or how do you know as a music therapist how the music will intersect within their therapeutic treatment?
You don't really know because it is so in the moment. Being present is so much a part of it. I was thinking about our conversation before about how technology has changed music therapy over the years. And because we have people in hospice and palliative care that spans 8 decades, probably at some point, the repertoire that a music therapist has to be prepared to deliver, if you will, is extensive. And 20 years ago, when we first started working in hospice, I had 2 3-inch binders full of music spanning generations. And I went back and forth between organizing that by genre, organizing it by decade, and we had to flip through all of that music to figure out, and I would give lists out to people with song lists for them to choose from the songs that I had somewhat prepared, to do live, because we do mostly live music within the music therapy setting. But now, Karen, working in 2024, currently in the hospice setting, what does that look like now?
Oh yeah, everything's digitized. There's an app for everything, which really makes it so great because music's so accessible. So many times, so I've preferred using paper music, using sheet music, literally, because I know the chord, I know that I chose the songs and the chords that I can sing easily and that the patients can sing if they're going to participate too. And if I'm just looking up the chords on an app, it might not match up. But for the most part, we'll use an iPad. I do and a lot of my clients like using paper, like having to see the words. And so so we make compromises. Certainly having more options is so much better than having less. But it gives different opportunities too for, songwriting. You could do it on GarageBand. You could do heartbeat recordings now. I mean, I don't want to get into all of that yet, but there's so many opportunities, and having access to all the music you want, and the correct lyrics for a song, like that's amazing. So it's definitely changed a lot.
I would think just the accessibility, right? That you as the music therapist now don't need to know this 3-binder 1,000 repertoires. You can really just do a search and then be able to pop up the music on a YouTube channel to be able to empower and inspire somebody, and talk more about that transformation that occurs when someone does hear music. I've heard studies and seen personally where you can have a person with memory care issues that all of a sudden a certain song pops on and their entire demeanor changes.
They can't speak or can't remember that their spouse who's been dead for 20 years is no longer living, or their children sitting in front of them, they can't remember their names, and they can remember every single word to a song from their childhood, which is really incredible. Shows that memory, because music is multifaceted, it's housed in different areas of the brain and more accessible than just words or memories themselves.
Can you talk a little bit about that? How the brain and the music, the frequency of the music could impact and bring to life somebody who might have been part of their brain is shut down?
Karen, why don't you talk about that? She works a lot now. She's currently doing this work and with lots of memory care patients.
It's so much fun, and it's so much fun for our clients who, in different stages of dementia, may not be able to have a clear conversation or communicate their needs or what they want. But if you're able to find their favorite song, a song that's embedded in their long-term memories, and to be able to work with that in music therapy and have family members join in that, creating new memories for the family members and that patient, it's really been incredible to witness, because music is so much a part of our long-term memories. And those memories, I believe it's in the prefrontal cortex, that our long-term memories of music are connected to the prefrontal cortex, and that's one of the last to atrophy as we get older, and if we are dealing with something like dementia. And so to be able to access that in music therapy is really such a wonderful opportunity for both the client and the family members. And so to sing songs together and be able to communicate through singing, through even live music making with other family members, it's really been such a special experience.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the projects that you've worked on with your patients? Like, how do you create a legacy project or work even music therapy with, say, a child who is going through end of life in a children's hospital? Any experiences that you can share with us there?
Brooke, do you want to talk about that? Most of my experiences have been with adults.
So working with children, I did have an opportunity as Samaritan. We partnered with Children's Hospital of Philadelphia and did a palliative partner where children who have potential terminal illness, which for children, it's much different experience because you don't want to give up fighting or seeking curative treatments until it's the very end. So oftentimes children come onto hospice service at the very end. And what CHOP was trying to do with the hospices in the area is create that continuum of care so that they're coming in a little bit earlier, even before a family was ready to do end of life care. So that the relationships, it becomes a little bit more seamless and easier for families to accommodate. So I didn't often get the opportunity to step in until it was at the very end, but I have very memorable experiences where children are so connected to music. Music is in, strong affiliation with experiences of movies and shows and fantasy, and kids can use that music as a way to say their goodbyes, especially something that is so deep and beyond our cognitive understanding. Even for adults, it's very hard to wrap your head around. just those experiences at the end, where we think that death is about disconnecting, about saying goodbye. Oftentimes at the end of the life, it is about connection, and we're deepening those connections. So as Karen had said before, you're making new experiences in the end of life rather than just always reminiscing or even closing those relationships, so that the bridge between life to death, especially if you're thinking about a child who's dying, the parents can access those memories at the end. It's not just about maybe the terror or the sadness of death, but they can also access those ending memories that become very special to them as they're saying goodbye to the loved one.
I know for me, I was 21 when my mother passed, and my mother's favorite song was Bette Midler's The Rose. And so here I am almost 40 years later, and any time that song comes on, I need to stop what I'm doing. Like, there's a visceral experience that I go through when that song comes on. Where you are in your woo-woo realm, but I feel my mother's presence. I embrace her. I feel like she's I can feel it now. Even when I think of the song, that song brings so much of her life back into me in that moment, even knowing she's been gone almost 40 years. So I can see the power of, again, looking at the frequency, how frequency affects our physical bodies, our brain capacity. So there is a lot of science behind how music impacts not just how we feel, but how we have a response, an emotional response. So being able to take music and making it a healing process, and to share maybe some of your stories about how music is not just for the patient, but also for those they leave behind.
I was thinking about that, Brooke, when you were talking about working with children and their families. And sometimes, actually often, whether you're working with a child in hospice or an adult who has lived many, many years, sometimes it's, the client is ready to go. The client might be very comfortable, even as a child. The child's like, I've been through this. I've been through all of this chemo. I've been through this pain. I've been not able to do all of the things that I want to do anyway. And now I'm ready. And the family might not be ready for them to leave, of course. But for the client to be able to give something, it's so that the family feels that comfort, leave a legacy, leave a special song, whether that's a song that's already written that brings up special memories for the client and they want to share that with the family, or to write an original song, or to rewrite a song that's already written using your own words. There's so many different opportunities to give comfort to those who are still, in the physical world or in the living world. And that can really help someone who their time is limited. So that can really help the child who's dying or the adult who's dying, and help them know that, okay, I'm leaving this special gift to my family member or my loved one, and they'll have that to remember me by. And that, that can help everybody. It's really such a remarkable thing to be able to meet our hospice patients at such a significant time in their lives and be brought into those tricky situations and just really heightened emotional situations, and to be able to offer them what we can as music therapists and just as a witness to their process. It's just such an amazing thing.
I would say that legacy work is probably one of the most important things that we do, for not necessarily for the person who's dying, but for the people who are left behind. Because I bring to mind a patient that I had. The woman was dying. Her husband would always sit in on the sessions. She wrote a song. I sang that song at her funeral. We wrote it together. I sang that song at her funeral. And then I visited her husband as he was dying 3 years later. And it was so much comfort for him because he remembered being in that space with his wife. And now we're in the same space and he's now dying. I sing at his funeral. And then you think about all of her children then who have all of these memories that tie the parents together, they're left with a song that their mother wrote that had the sentiments of their relationship wrapped into that music. And now they're left with that, from an undetermined amount of time. And I was also thinking about Karen and I's first experience at Temple in our graduate program. We took a class about music therapy and end of life. And that was my first experience thinking about death and dying and end of life. That's what sort of led me in the direction of seeking a profession, getting my clinical experience in hospice. But we had to, and I was 21 years old, Karen was somewhere around there. We had to imagine that we were dying, and we had to pick 3 significant people in our life that we would find a song that represented that relationship, something that we wanted to communicate. And we had to present that, in class. And as a very young person, not ever having thought about death or dying or what it would be like, it forced you to have those conversations and have those thought process, like to go down that road of thinking what it would actually be like. And it softens, I think, for me, it did. It softens the conversation. It softens the idea when you start to attack the conversation without all of the fear and overwhelm that dying brings. And you start to begin to prepare yourself and the people that you love for those inevitable moments. Then you take the power back. You take the power back into yourself, away from the thing that is death. And I still, if I would have died 10 years ago, I would have had that to give. And that's something that people can do today. You don't have to wait until you're sitting in a room dying to begin to think about what people mean to you in your life. And music is such an easy way to do that. My husband is horrible with words. He has the hardest time articulating anything. Music is his language. He could easily pick songs that represent his love or his experience of important people in his life. And that can be just as meaningful as sitting someone down and saying, hey, this is what you've meant to me.
And I think that what you just said, that music is a language. And when people have a hard time, especially at end of life, or even talking about this topic, right? Maybe someone isn't at end of life, but they just got a diagnosis and they're afraid. And they're afraid because they do have to think about what would life look like if I'm not here. And maybe they don't have the ability to be able to express it in words, but there might be a song already out there that speaks to exactly how they feel in that moment. I mean, for you, Karen, is there any stories that you have that of a patient who just embraced that opportunity to express their feelings through music?
I was thinking of that class that Brooke was talking about, and how as our assignment, we had to, do these song dedications, a song legacy, and how it must have been the fall semester, because I remember many of us talking about how we didn't want to wait. We wanted to give those songs to our family member, for Christmas or for the holidays that year. And I remember making CDs and giving them to my family members and printing out the lyrics, and how they just thought it was the most special thing. It just stands out to me. That was so long ago. It stands out to me as such like a unique gift to give someone, and it can be so easy. And so there's songs that I would give to someone right now when I think of them, and there's other songs that I want to wait, that I want to, put it in a special file in a lockbox, and that's a song that, will come out at my funeral. And, and there's other songs that we all, maybe think about having at our memorial service, et cetera, too. Just trying to think about client experiences. I can't, there have been many, and it's so nice right now because we have access to so much music and can just send it in a link, or, a YouTube video with the lyrics in it. So it does give so many opportunities for our clients. But I think about a songwriting session that I had with a client who used to write, and he had an estranged relationship with his daughter. She lived across the country. There was a lot of turmoil in their relationship, he was now dying. She knew he was dying. They didn't talk over the phone, but they would write letters to each other. And so he would be waiting for these letters from her. Sometimes they would come, sometimes he would just be waiting. And I asked him if he wanted to think about his writing and the way he was able to use his words so eloquently and put them into a song. Most of our clients, if they haven't ever written a song before or even done any creative writing, they might be intimidated by that. But when you're working with a music therapist, it's our job to take the hard parts, or the parts with the technical stuff. The hard part really is, the content, the words that he was coming up with. And for me, it was just to figure out a melody that he agreed with and help to express how he was feeling. And I remember that situation specifically because it wasn't necessarily about the end product. It wasn't really about the song. It was about his process, his closure, because now he was leaving. He was, going on to the next part of his journey, in his death. And he wanted to leave her something, but he had a lot to say and a lot of, he had a lot of regrets and he didn't know how to do that. But the song offered an opportunity to do that. And after he had passed, I remember giving the song to his niece who he had lived with and asking if she would send it to his daughter. And I remember her saying that, I don't know if she could handle that. I don't know if that would be really good for her. And that totally changed my concept of what we were doing at all. But it made me think it's about his process. And that was the most important. And he needed to put it out there. And he needed to create this beautiful song to help him have closure with that relationship and for him to be able to say, I wasn't there for you for this, but I really wanted to be. And, here I am, and I just love you so much. And so that the whole, everything about it was just like, it still stands out so much in my heart.
No, we're jumping over each other, but I think we're on the same page, which is that it's the gift that will just stay in our hearts or in the family's hearts, because it really is a true essence of who that person was. And, being able to pull that up. And now, again, just to kind of close out with the digital age, I think the digital technology that's available, this music won't go away. Where before, if I had on a CD or on a cassette tape and the cassette tape got ruined, like I have cassette tapes of my parents. My father used to be in television, in community theater, and I've lost it because the tape deteriorated. And now with technology, it can live on. And that is where we're at with this digital age and the digital legacy. So just to close out our conversation here, advice, best lessons learned, how can our listeners start to create their digital legacy and creating music for those they leave behind? What are some quick opportunities for them?
The first thing that comes to my mind is everybody's using Spotify or creating albums or creating, folders of music. Start creating, when you hear a song that reminds you of your loved one, a particular loved one, your partner, your child, your friend. Karen made me a friend CD when we were in our master's degree, and I still have it, and it has all these songs on it that remind us so much of our friendship that's now over 20 years old. And it's still so special to me. And there's no reason why it's so easy now. You can make a folder that says mom, make a folder that says, your child, and just start throwing songs in there, things that remind you of them, that bring up feelings that are special to them, that have memories associated. Maybe it's a song that you used to dance together or sing together, or Disney World song, a song that reminds you of your trip to Disney World. Or that would be a really easy thing, I think, for people to do, right, Karen?
Yeah, and I think if you don't automatically have an idea of what song or even what genre, just writing down some ideas of some themes or things that remind you of that person. Like, I want a song that's bubbly and has a lot of energy and is light, or I want a song that talks about how that person got me through this tough time, and songs, that other people have written won't necessarily have every single line that you feel like you can dedicate to your loved one, but it might have a chorus or a verse and a chorus that really sums it up, and you can be specific about why you chose that song for that person. It's not the bridge, it's the first verse and the chorus, and that, I mean, that really might speak to your relationship with them. But, writing down ideas about what you would want to dedicate, and what are those things that make your relationship so special and that make you think of that person. Maybe it's a song about being out in nature, and that's something that you shared with your mom, and so that's what you want to give to her, that type of thing. Or a song about sports, or just going out and having fun.
And it's so easy to do that, like with a voice memo on your phone, so you can just record that quickly. You don't have to write it down. You don't have to be in the right moment. I think technology has allowed for us to do things that we might have put off in another at another time because it required so much effort. And while this requires maybe some mental and emotional effort, you're doing it now while you're very healthy. If you're doing it now while you're healthy, you can really have clarity about the things that you want to say. You don't have to wait until there's an emergency to do those things, because most likely, you do very meaningful work at the end of life, as Karen was describing with her patient, but you don't have to wait till then to do these important things. And it can be really simple and quick.
And with that, I mean, I actually have a folder that my end of life folder of music, and I basically put those people who are important in my life. I choose one song that represents my relationship with them, and that's what I put into my music folder. And
Perfect.
So, right? And like you said, it might just be that line in the song that just hits exactly definition of what that person or our relationship means. And I have to keep in mind that my memorial service when my memorial service comes, that I will have instructions for them to play those songs and what those songs mean to me and the relationships that I've built out over my lifetime. And with that, I want to thank you both so much for your expertise and sharing your experiences here. I will certainly, if anybody needs to get a hold of you, then we'll go ahead and put your contact information as well. But with that, thank you all for joining, and we'll end here. Have a good one.
Hi.
Hello. How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm so happy to be here.
Well, we're happy you are. What's your name?
My name's Jane. When I sing, I go by Nightbird.
Oh, that's nice.
Nightbird?
That's right.
Did you sing? Do you sing for a living?
Not recently.
Where are you from?
I'm from Zanesville, Ohio.
Okay. How old are you?
I'm 30.
30 years old. And the dream is to be a singer. What are you going to be singing for us tonight?
I'm singing an original song called It's Okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It is. It's okay.
It's okay.
What is It's Okay about?
It's Okay is the story of the last year of my life.
All right. And who are you here with?
I'm here by myself.
It's okay. And what do you do for a living?
I have not been working for quite a few years. I've been dealing with cancer.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm okay.
All right.
Can I ask you a question? How are you now?
Last time I checked, I had some cancer in my lungs, my spine, and my liver.
Wow.
So you're not okay.
Well, not in every way, no.
You got a beautiful smile and a beautiful glow, and nobody would know.
Thank you. It's important that everyone knows I'm so much more than the bad things that happen to me.
Yes.
All right. Sing for us.
Good luck. Nightbird.
I moved to California in the summertime. I changed my name thinking that it would change my mind.
problems, they would stay behind. I was a stick of dynamite, and it just was a matter of time, yeah. Oh dang, oh my, now I can't hide. Said I knew myself, but I guess I lied. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. If you're lost, we're all a little lost, and it's alright. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. If you're lost, we're all a little lost, and it's alright. It's alright, it's alright, it's alright. I wrote 100 pages, but I burned them all. Yeah, I burned them all. I blow through yellow lights and don't look back at all. I don't look back at all. Oh dang, oh my, now I can't hide. Said I knew what I wanted, but I guess I lied. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. If you're lost, we're all a little lost, and it's alright. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay. If you're lost, we're all a little lost, and it's alright. Oh, it's alright to be lost sometimes.
Wow.
I moved to California in the summertime. I changed my name thinking that it would change my mind. I thought that all my problems, they would stay behind. I was a stick of dynamite, and it was just a matter of time. Oh dang, oh my, now I can't hide. Said I knew myself, but I guess I lied. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay to be lost. We all get lost, and it's alright. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay to be lost. We all get lost, and it's alright. I wrote 100 pages, but I burnt them all. Yeah, I burnt them all. I drove through yellow lights and didn't stop at all. I didn't stop at all. Oh dang, oh my, now I can't hide. Said I knew what I wanted, but I guess I lied. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay to be lost. We're all lost, and it's alright. It's okay, it's okay, it's okay, it's okay to be lost. We're all lost, and it's alright. It's alright to be lost sometimes. It's alright to be lost sometimes.
Wow. My gosh.
For anyone who doesn't know, we lost a very, very special person from our AGT family. Her name is Jane. Her nickname was Nightbird, and she sang the song. So it has a very special meaning in my heart. It was really beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
What a surprise to hear that song, and your voices are fantastic. That was the perfect AGT audition.
I'll always remember Nightbird. And to see that it touched people on the other side of the globe. Unbelievable. You deserve so much more than a yes, and to be here, you deserve a thank you. Thank you so much.
Can I ask why you decided to sing that song?
When we heard Nightbird sing the song on this stage, we were very inspired and touched by her story that we decided to record the song. To our surprise, she responded so beautifully. This song has been such a pillar of strength for us as a choir through difficult times. We just want to continue her legacy, and that's why we chose the song.
Thank you for listening to the Digital Legacy Podcast, where we talk about death and dying in the digital age. I hope this conversation inspired you to take control and plan for the inevitable to protect yourself and those you leave behind. Don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter at digitallegacypodcast.com. Remember, life is full of surprises. What happens after you die shouldn't be. So keep your passwords safe and your playbook up to date.